If you don't use straps, it will limit your back development on pulling. All right, this is one of the biggest nonsense myths I have seen, and I've seen it repeatedly year after year after year after year. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I want to chat with you guys a little bit about this. Now, when I say this, I want to be very clear in saying that, look, if you personally choose to use straps for pulling, that is your own business. I am not saying it will hinder your back gains in any way. It's your personal preference. And I am also saying that it will not help your back gains in any way. I am telling you that it is not even a factor. Okay, and if it is, then you have a muscle imbalance that you need to fix. And if people just simply do all of their pulling without straps from day one and actually build their grip up, and they don't cheat like crazy on all these exercises, they'll never need straps. Okay, it's because people start using them, and then they have a weak grip and weak forearms, and then they feel the need to continue to do so, or because they want to do huge amounts of cheating. Now, the thing is, if you're using machines, like, I don't see guys do this on machines. It's like, why? You're using a machine. It's not like you can really cheat unless they're trying to do really heavy partials. But here's the thing to remember. What's the quickest way to have bad back development? It's to do partials in the middle. Okay, not stretching. It is that stretch in the lats, the spreading of the scapula, that really gives us the most back size. That's the most bang for your buck. And in order to do that, that oftentimes requires us to go a little bit lighter, right? It actually requires us to do so. And I like to use myself as an example of someone who I generally don't pull with straps. I've occasionally messed with straps for different exercises here and there, but rarely for long. And usually when I've done it, it's for high rep deadlifts, right? Because I have deadlift bars with aggressive knurl, and they just shred the skin off your hands. It's not that I have to have it, it's that I like keeping my palms. So, for example, if you guys remember when I did that 500-pound deadlift for 11 reps that time, I did it with a Texas deadlift bar, which is known for its aggressive knurl, and I did it with no straps. My hands were bleeding. You know, in that case, it makes sense because your hands are literally bleeding all over the place. Okay, in that case, on something like that, it kind of makes sense. But it still didn't limit my back development, right? I still completed the set. And that's the point I'm making. I'm making the point that people do it successfully both ways. You know, and then you'll see people who are like, but this pro bodybuilder did that. And I'm like, well, a couple things to think about. Okay, couple things to think about. Number one, did that pro bodybuilder ever have any competitors who competed with them who didn't use straps who had a similar back? Bet you they did. Okay, so there goes your hypothesis. Okay, so if that's the case, that pro bodybuilder could have saved $20 and not bought the straps. He chose to use them. Okay, but the guy he was competing with didn't. He saved himself $20. I mean, if we're going to come down to it, I know $20 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. And here are road calibrated plates, you know, 1,000 pounds of road plates. I digress. But you see my point, right? He wasted money because the other guy did just as good without him. All right, number one. Number two, why are you using pro bodybuilders who use enormous amounts of gear? Because all the guys you're thinking of who are doing that, they're not modest users. They're definitely not natty, and they're definitely not casual users. All right, they're not blasting like you and your bros do. Most of you out there, the guys you don't know, you're like, well, I'm not using anything. Okay, but you got a lot of bros at the gym who do. They're not blasting like those guys. And, you know, there's a case to be made for that. Yeah, if you're doing rows with 500 pounds, actually, I'll go ahead and say you're doing rows with 405, like overhand grip rows. Okay, full standing rows where you're having to hold in your hand. Okay, I get that. Ronnie Coleman doing them with 580, 600 pounds for sets of 12. Okay, fine. But they're using so much gear they have to do that. And yeah, you're at a point where the human grip is not going to keep up. But are you guys really rowing like that? I mean, again, look at the size of my back. What was I rowing there, bent over? What was I doing? It's only 245, guys. That's all that's necessary to have a back my size. Now, if you can go heavy if you're doing pendlay rows off the floor, same thing. You see me doing weighted pull-ups, wide grip pull-ups. My grip's not giving out. Okay, you see me, do 11 reps with 500 pounds on a deadlift without straps. Okay. Stop and think about that. Now, if you think I've got pretty decent back development, yeah, again, that's not that hard of a grip to develop. Now, granted, if you're trying to get a pro bodybuilder back, I do understand. But that's different. That's not most of you out there. I see guys out here using straps doing this thinking it's going to help them who have smaller backs than me, using less weight than I use on this stuff. Come on. All you're doing is making yourself have to do extra forearm and grip work. Because that's the other thing. You guys who are doing that, okay, are you trying to get strong for compete in powerlifting? Well, you better build your grip. Are you chasing aesthetics? Do you think tiny, small, skinny forearms are considered an aesthetic physique? See where I'm going with that? So all you're doing is making yourself have to come back and do extra work. And you're not isolating your back. If you just build your grip up and you actually use decent form on these movements, your grip will build up just fine with it. And that's the point that I'm making. For the majority of you, you may not need them. And my problem is that you see so many people out there treating it like it's an important tip, that if you don't use the straps, there's just no way your grip can keep up. Yeah, come on, dude. If you can't build your grip up to where you can do rows with 185 pounds, you know what I mean, guys? That's like, what, 85 kg? You can't do 15 pull-ups. You can't deadlift 5 plates without straps. Come on. I'm sorry, those are not difficult levels of grip strength to develop. They just take a little bit of patience and consistency. That's it. That's all it takes. It's not some amazing tip. It's a myth. It's a myth, and it literally is just a personal preference in your training. And I would argue there are potential downsides to it. So it's not all, oh, well, it's just an insurance policy to ensure that my back is going to get work. Well, it's an insurance policy to make sure your grip and forearms are going to suck, is what it is, unless you're going to come through and train them again later. And that's my point, right? And I think it's a decent one. I'm saying it's a myth. I'm saying it's not necessary and it's not that good of a tip. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.